Good evening, everyone. Firstly, a very happy Eid to all of my friends, families, the followers on Facebook and Instagram. I wish the choicest blessings of God be on all of you. Today's topic is going to be about living youthfully. I have been asked this question several times, and I thought about having a session where I share my experience of living youthfully. So, in the words of Pablo, youth has no age. Okay, so and that's what my belief is. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 80, you can still be living with a lot of energy, and you can be youthful, or you might be even in your teens and maybe acting like an old person. So it all depends upon the state of mind. Now, to explain this, I'll start by sharing a story. So once upon a time, there was a samurai, and he wanted to know the difference between heaven and hell. So he searched for the solution, went far and wide, but was not getting a response that he wanted to, which would appease him. So he thought about going to a sage, and after a lot of search, he found a Zen master, and who was in a state of meditation. So he asked the Zen master, and having a lot of his, the samurai power and his ego intact, he asked the Zen master that, Zen master, what is the difference between heaven and hell? The Zen master did not respond to him, and instead kept on meditating. So he asked again, but this time even more vociferously, that Zen master, what is the difference between heaven and hell? And the Zen master continued still without responding. So the samurai got really mad, and he took the sword out of his scabbard and was about to behead the Zen master, when the Zen master opened his eye, raised his gaze, and told the samurai, "This, my friend, is hell." The samurai got really embarrassed, and he bowed his head, put the sword back in the scabbard, and he said, "I'm sorry." At this moment, the Zen master told him that this, my friend, is heaven. So both the heaven and hell are inside our mind. It is simply a matter of how we cultivate the positive thoughts or the negative thoughts or the hellish thoughts or the heavenly thoughts that's going to change our attitude to create a life heaven or hell. Okay, the reason why I shared this story was because I wanted to show you the importance of the mind, our thoughts and our emotions in creating our life and providing the youthfulness from inside out. That's the difference, because most of the time we are looking for youthfulness, we're looking for energy in outside things, and some of the things can provide it, like exercises and good rituals. But on the other side, the greatest power and the source of energy lies inside us, lies in our thinking, in our positivity, and things that I'm going to talk about more in this session. So the power of the mind is recognized by physics, it is recognized by neuroscience, and also by spirituality. So physics says that reality is created from perception. Neuroscience tells us that brain controls our biochemistry. And spirituality explains that life does not happen to us, it happens from us. So everything is aligned on the concept of the importance of using your mind to create the life you want to, also for even achieving youthfulness, right? So as part of living, we learn throughout our life how to equip ourselves with capabilities, knowledge, and skills needed to succeed in the external world we call the reality. However, no school or college teaches us how to manage our mind, which is the cockpit of controlling our emotions, feelings, and actions that manifest our reality. In the absence of the understanding of self, we are simply in a reactionary mode, confused, anxious, stressed, and running like a hamster on a wheel in search of a sanctuary that provides the proverbial peace of mind. Unfortunately, we do not realize that the solution to the challenges of life are not outside, rather they exist inside ourselves. It's simply a matter of looking inwards. So that is a key element. The concept of living youthfully is to live with energy, passion, positivity, and courage at every stage of the life. So it's not about living it when you think that you're old. It's living while you may be 20, into 30s, 40s, 50s, at each stage of your life. Youthfulness is a state of mind, an attitude and expression of the celebration of life. It's how you, like an artist, carve and leave an imprint of your attitude, of your presence on the people who you come in touch with, and who remember you for the individual you have been. So it's an expression. You are an artist of your own life. You can live it youthfully, or you can live it in a very, very tired and fatigued way. It's a choice. These colors and the colors, think of it like as a paint test. Instead of providing you with the colors, you've been provided with emotions, you've been provided with feelings, you've been provided with words or communication. You have the actions that you can take, and all those things with how you choose from your palette or the reservoir of things that have been given to you. You can color the canvas of your life in the way that you want to. So that's the whole idea of living youthful. You're living youthful, as many people who talk about, they go into cosmetology, they go into only about the physical appearance. My point is that you want to reverse aging or want to be young, not because you look good. That can be one of the reasons also, but more importantly, it is to have the energy of a 20-year-old. That's the important thing. It's when you're 20 and you have the energy, it doesn't matter. But if you are at a more advanced stage and you have the energy of a 20-year-old, that is power. That is what we need to have, so that we can use that energy in using it into accomplishing greater goals and targets of our life. So now let's look at it. What are the elements that, in my view, are important to get to live youthfully? So the first thing I would say is practice inner engineering to reinvent ourselves. Okay, so what does that mean? Reinventing ourselves is simply re-engineering our attitude, mindset, rituals and behaviors to adjust to the changing situation, to adapt, not only to adapt, but to thrive at it. And there are many examples of individuals turning adversity into opportunity, and I'm going to share an example of one individual. His name was Karolai Takas of Hungary. He was a sergeant in the Hungarian army, and his goal in life was to win an Olympic gold medal in rapid pistol shooting. And he was an expert. He was an Hungarian champion, and he was, won many competitions, and he was to participate in the Olympics in 1934. But it so happened that at that time the sergeants were not allowed to participate into Olympics, so he was unable to do that. Later, when they took off that requirement, and people thought that once he goes over there, he will be a sure shot winner of the gold medal. Now, it didn't happen that way, because he met with an incident where he was trying to defuse a hand grenade, and it blew in his shooting hand. So his right hand was amputated, and people, felt commiserated him. They felt bad about him. But this guy said, no way, I'm going to give up on my passion for living and for passion for achieving the things that I want to achieve. So what did he do? He started practicing with his left hand. And over time, he mastered the art of rapid pistol shooting with his left hand. So he went in for the Hungarian championship, and his friends met him and told him that, what brings you here? It's so kind of you that you have come in to support us in the championship. He said, no, I'm not here to support you. I'm here to compete and to win. And they were laughing because he didn't have his right hand, the hand with which he used to do the shooting. But when the competition happened, he won hands down. Okay, so he was able to do it with his left hand. Then again, people thought that he's going to win the Olympics gold, and then it so happened that World War broke out, and the Olympics for two of the Olympics were cancelled. And then he was reaching more an advanced stage. But he continued to practice. He continued to have the thought about achieving the goal that he wanted to, and luckily he found an opportunity. And when the Olympics happened, he was able to win not only one Olympic gold, but two in two consecutive Olympics. So that what this story tells me is like about not only about the triumph of the human spirit, but having a purpose which drives the youthfulness in you, that you are able to compete with much younger individuals, and you have the energy and the desire to be the best of the best in the world. People who win the Olympics gold have to be the best to be able to win that. So that is a fantastic example, and I thought that was the great thing about reinventing. Now we ourselves can on our own level continue to reinvent ourselves. I know of a lot of people, sometimes they give up on life too quickly. They say that this is what I have been doing, so they start to associate their personalities, their attitudes and their behaviors with what they have been doing in the past, right? But you can always change that. It doesn't mean that if life has been in one way, you cannot change it to be another thing. Till you are alive, you can always change yourself by working, using your behaviors, your attitude, and the emotions that you have. Learn new things, because when you're learning new things, new synaptic connections are being made, new neurons are, the mind is rewiring itself, and that provides you with a youth. That is the power. So coming out of all these things like, yeah, I've grown old, I cannot do this, or that, these are all limiting paradigms. These have to be completely abrogated from your thinking. They have to be eradicated completely from your mindset to live a life full of passion, full of energy, and full of drive. So that's the first thing, is reinventing ourselves, right? So that would be, in my view, that would be the first thing. Okay, so the second thing is building strong relationships. That would be the second thing, right? So why is building strong relationships so important? More than 100 years worth of research shows that having a healthy social life is incredibly important to staying physically healthy. So that's something based upon research. Overall, social support increases survival by some 50%, concluded the authors behind a new meta-analysis, right? The benefit of friends, family, and even colleagues turn out to be just as good for long-term survival as giving up 15 cigarettes a day smoking habit. Imagine the power of having like the friends and people around you has such a significant impact on our lives. So that's a big thing. Okay, so having a strong social network, having friends and family with you increases not only your longevity but also provides you youthful energy. So I have seen it so many times in my own family. Some of the people have lived to be like 100-year-old, and then you look at their diets or you look at their lifestyles, then by that standards has been described by the doctors, they shouldn't have survived that long. Like my mother's my wife's grandmother, she lived to be 100, and she was used to chew tobacco. She would eat whatever she wanted to. She was having a lot of sugar or anything that she pleased to, but did not have any problems and lived to be 100 because she didn't have the stress and had a very strong social network. And she would talk with the people, she would say what was in her mind, and would not be worried about talking to the people about those things. So it is important to build strong relationship. Now in the times of social media, it is becoming a problem. You may have 1,000 or 2,000 followers or friends or hundreds of thousands of followers, but yet the level of isolation that people feel or the loneliness has multiplied many times. And this is not based upon what I'm saying, this is based upon research, that when they did a research to find that how the people are feeling, and you believe that you're more connected on the social network, so the people should feel the spirit of connection, the spirit of camaraderie, of being together. But people are finding themselves even more lonelier. There is higher level of depression that people are faced with, and that is because you're not having the emotional relationship with the on the social media. You cannot express, people cannot see how you're feeling, a touch, a hug, a smile. These are the things which can lighten up a heart or a mind which is down. So it's important to build strong relationship. These are like, really think of it, not only that these are important for business, but in your own personal life, these are really important. And it was another research showed that if you have even 4 or 5 people or people who you can trust, you can talk to, or share anything that is bothering you, your chances of survival in life becomes higher. So the second point is build strong relationships. The third important thing for youthfulness is gratitude, giving gratitude. Okay, and Neil Donald Walsh, one of the great inspirational writer, he said something amazing. He said, "The struggle ends when gratitude begins," and I found that this is a great way. A lot of people are now like they try to avoid gratitude because they feel that by saying thank you and by saying good things about others, they might be elevated and you might be putting yourself lower. And that doesn't happen. It's when you're giving gratitude, you're doing it for your own self. Actually, it helps you, and science shows that. And I've read that the greatest elixir for youthfulness is gratitude and respect for life itself. It's a feeling of expressing appreciation for what one has, and this feeling has a positive effect on our psychology. Gratitude is really a powerful tool, as it brings in humility and thankfulness, ingredients that are must for inner well-being. So it's important to offer those. Now, there was one study that was done where a case of people who were chronically depressed, they went to a doctor and he wanted to try something different. So he asked them that you start writing a thank you note to different people in your life. So every day you have to write one thank you note for the things for which you are grateful, or to the people who you are grateful to, and keep it with you. So you keep writing, and even to send it if it is to some other people. What he found was that over a period of time, these people came out of their depression. And it's like phenomenal. Just coming out of depression by being grateful for the things you have, for the people that you have in your life. And because what gratitude does is that your focus changes from being negative, from being sarcastic, from damaging relationships, to being grateful to the other people. So you focus on the positives that have happened into your life, and focusing on the positives in your life is the thing which comes into brightness by your consciousness. And when it comes into brightness, it creates good feelings, and when you have good feelings and emotion, it manifests a better life for you, because the things which you have in life that are the instruments for controlling your life is your feelings, your emotions, and the words and actions that you have. There's nothing more you can do. Mind is like a recorder. Learning in the past, or the degrees that you have, you can at any time learn new things. The old concepts can be changed as well. But what is important is these elements, like your feelings, your emotions, your words, your actions, are the things with which you paint the picture of life. The fourth one for me is interesting, because we're just coming out of Ramadan as well, is practicing intermittent fasting. Okay, this is amazing, and this is something which I recently discovered myself. I always knew that fasting is good for health, but what I did not know was that how fasting can enable longevity and youthfulness, right? So what happens is that once we start fasting, so the body, instead of burning the sugars, start to burn the fats. And when it starts to burn the fats, it works on reducing the weight. It provides a lot more overall benefits to the body. The other thing is that it also raises the level of the immune cells, or the white blood cells, which means that which help to repair any damages that have been caused to the body, fights with germs, bacteria, or whatever, so as to provide you with more longevity. Now there is research is being done that how we can even use the power of these immune cells, or the stem cells, in really reversing the age cycle. I don't know when and this will be possible, but there are creatures on the planet which have the ability to even regrow their organs, like salamander, which is a lizard, has the ability that if its leg is amputated, it can regrow its legs. So how does this happen? Because it has the power of having omnipotent stem cells, and the stem cells then go to the tip of the organ which has been amputated, and through the support of the environment, what they do is they regrow the limb. So that is something which we already see in the nature. But if we just just follow certain things, and to create the stem cells is like they feel that fasting can be a helpful thing, so why not? Like in the words of Benjamin Franklin, he said that the best of all medicines are resting and fasting. Okay, so it's not about we feel that we keep eating. In today's world, another thing which is happening is that more people are dying because of obesity than because of starvation. People have solved the issue of starvation, of having enough to eat, but the problem is of distribution. The distribution is not right. It may not be to the right places, but if the distribution was right, no one would be starving on the planet, because we have enough for everyone. But actually people have too much of it. So the fourth thing for me is practice intermittent fasting. And the fifth one is feed your mind with positive thoughts. I think I should have made this the number one, but still. And some of the facts I want to share with you is like which are scientific ones. Brain has 2%, is 2% of the human body mass, only 2%. But it consumes 20% of the entire oxygen, okay? 25% of the glucose consumption, 15% of our cardiac function, okay? So that's how much of the consumption versus the body mass that it has. So healthy rituals can retard the aging process that appears as white patches in the brain. So if you take a scan of the brain, you'll see that there are white patches appearing that declines our cognitive functions over time. Rituals of meditation, regular exercises, healthy nutrition, and intentional breathing can renew the neurotransmitters connecting to connections in the brain to keep us youthful and active. And neurotransmitters control virtually all of our body functions, from breathing to digestion to feeling happy, stressed or sad. So that is the important thing, and that's why it's so important. Now let's look at an example of an individual like Nelson Mandela, who spent 30 years of his life in a jail with no access to good food or vitamins, yet keeping his mind positive with hope and passion for life, he kept himself alert and full of life, right? And that is the power of positive thinking. Positive thinking is not that if you're positive, things start to happen good. No, positive thinking makes your mind feel great, and then you're open to new possibilities. Okay, so that's why it's good. Whereas the negative thinking puts you into a box of limitations, and then complacency and other things then just create more walls that you are never able to come out of it, right? And then that becomes a coffin for creative thinking. So those are the 5 things that I talked about, which are important, which are different than for youthfulness than what we generally talk about. This is like, again, I'll repeat those: re-engineer to reinvent yourself, build strong relations, give gratitude, practice intermittent fasting, and feed your mind with positive thoughts. Now, with that, I'm also going to talk about a few things that we should avoid doing, which will help us. So the first thing to avoid, in my view, is avoid limiting paradigms and negative thoughts. Of course, you have to avoid the limiting paradigms. What are limiting paradigms? Limiting paradigms are simply your limiting beliefs that you have in your mind. And I've always shared this example, and I want to share it one more time, that in circuses, baby elephants are trained by tying strong chains to their feet. Okay, so when these strong chains are tied to the baby elephant tries to break them. Minute after minute, hour after hour, it tries to break free of the chains, but he's not able to. Over time, it starts to believe that the chains are so strong that they can never be broken. A false paradigm is formed. So when the elephant grows to be a 10,000-pound adult or a monster, and for him it's really easy to break the chains, because the circus people, they put in even thinner chains to it. But the problem is that the chains in his brain are stronger than the chain on his feet, and that's why it never breaks those. And that is the problem of limiting paradigms. We have to question, what are our beliefs that are holding us back? What is it that is preventing us from going in and living the life we so want? Now, a lot of people they get very, very worried if they have a disease, or if they feel like something bad is going to happen to them, because they want to live more, right? That's why, because they don't want to die, they want to live more. But then you ask them that, what do you do with this life? How are you going to use it purposefully? And they don't have a solution for that. Many people get into the negativity and cribbing, but you cannot be just alive. When you arrive, you have to be thankful for the life that has been given, and you should be able to express it. Come out of your limiting paradigm, live the life that you want to live, and that's really, really important. So as per the research shows that our beliefs determine how we age. If we think and act old, we grow old prematurely, whereas when we think and act young, we remain younger physically and mentally. As psychology controls our biology, our beliefs have a strong impact on our body and physical appearance. We all encounter individuals, I have seen so many, who live in the past, use words that emphasize age or lost power and focus on limitations of body or mind. In other words, their talk is aged, their behavior is aged, and their actions are aged. Then, not surprisingly, they look aged as well. So, whereas there are other people who have a spring in their walk, a desire to learn and exude energy of youthfulness. And I've seen so many people, and I'm so much impressed by so many of those who are like, even at an advanced stage, are very youthful. Youthful not because like they are jumping around, but youthful in the sense that they take on new challenges in life. They want to do something different. They are willing to learn. They spend the time with younger people to see how their minds are working. They are able to operate newer gadgets. They want to learn. They want to live a life with learnings, with possibilities, right? And that's the whole idea. At the end of the day, it's not about the money you have, because the richest person or the poorest person all have to die, right? So the important thing is, are you having rich experiences in life or not? You having rich relationships in life or not? Or when you're dying, when you look back, have you lived well, or you're full of remorse for missing the boat on life? That is the important thing. So the first thing in here is avoid limiting paradigms and negative thoughts. The second is avoid stress. Okay, and that's really important. I got a comment here from which says, how do you get rid of all that negative energy consumed by toxic people in your life so that you can finally focus on yourself emotionally and physically? Where do you even start? Beautiful thought and a question. So where do we start with the negative energy that is coming in, rid of the energy consumed by toxic people? So I think in the last session, the session before, I talked about it, that when we encounter toxic people, we should first be aware that these are the people who cause us the problem. And I think the body immediately tells you that these are the people you don't want to be in the company of. So the best is not to be, to acknowledge them, but don't engage with them into longer communications. So when you see a person and you meet a person at a party or some place who is toxic, you just talk about it like a great day, hope everything is fine with you, and you're not engaging in a discussion, let alone having a debate on some point, because then you're taking their negativity or toxicity into your own self, and you want to avoid that. So not engaging with them is the best way, but trying to be nice to everyone, because there's a huge power in being nice. That's the greatest thing that you can ever do. So try to be nice. Don't allow the thoughts of the other people train your mind, that don't allow the opinions of others to affect on you. Personally, for me, when I think about my own life, I think about 4 things that I wanted to really change, and I'm working on changing myself. The first thing is judging people. Judging is more about, like, you think already from some of the actions, without knowing the people well, you form opinions about them. This is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. You don't know the situation. So one thing I have committed to myself is to say that I'm not going to judge anyone. So that's the first thing. I am trying. I hope I can do it successfully. Second is, don't try to do things with the expectation that you get likes or the love of people. Meaning like, you post a picture and expecting that you get 100 likes on Facebook, and you're looking for the acceptance of people. You're doing things at work which just to please a person. You have to do what is right, what is based upon your own morality and your thinking, what you believe is the right thing to do. You have to do that. That's really important. The third thing for me is like avoiding the fears that we have in our mind. So when we are listening to the people or toxic people in this, because we know that there is some sort of a fear that we have, that maybe they speak ill about ourselves outside, or they may cause other problems. So you have to overcome your fears, okay, while remaining really nice, but you have to fight the battle in the mind, okay. So that is an important element. And then the fourth thing that I always say is to go after possibilities and having the courage to do things differently. So that is just a sidetrack from this session I got to answer that question. So don't worry about, there will always be toxic people, but but even the most toxic people have a good side. So focus on the good side, and it will make your life better, because you don't want to get the toxicity to affect your kidneys and liver. You don't want that to happen. And I'm going to talk about that subject in terms of resentment, which will be coming in as a later point. So the first thing we talked is avoiding limiting paradigm. The second is avoiding stress. That is really, really important. And research suggests that the way we live our lives, our diet, our exercise regimens can have a big impact on how we age. So cognitive aging is seen in older people to appear to be linked to the amount of stress they have experienced in their life. And that is something which is like interesting. And I have met so many people who would tell me that we are looking forward to our vacation, because during the vacation we don't have the stress of the work that we have on a daily basis. And I asked them that, why do you operate in a stressful environment? Why do you take it? Because for many people, the having the stress on a regular basis and then not having it over the vacation in itself gives them a high. It's like a huge amount of dopamine. So they feel that, they accept that level of stress on a daily basis so that they can enjoy a vacation. What type of a life? Because how many days can you have of vacation? 30 days in a year. So what about the 11 months? Those 11 months are pure agony. So instead of having 1 month of relaxation and good, you should have 12 months of happiness. Who knows how long we will be alive or be living? So it's important to make the most of every day, and you cannot be just waiting because it's a vacation, so we will be non-stressed. You have to have a demeanor which is like which is calm, content from inside, so that then when you are approaching things, even working for the company, you will be able to do much better, because your mind is calm. It has the ability to think and get the solutions that you want. Okay, so that's really, really an important element, is to avoid stress. And the way to avoid stress is exercise, meditate. Meditation is brilliant for killing stress, and also putting the things into right perspective. Right. First thing is, be grateful for the life that has been given to us. So if we are alive, we can change any situation. So get that in perspective. Second perspective is, how big is an issue? 90% of the problems that we have in our life in 1 year's time, which are now occupying most of our thinking, in 1 year's time, we would not even be thinking about those, right? So it's just gone. It's just a matter of perception in our head. So we need to get rid of them. And what they're causing is they're causing us premature aging and nothing else, because this stress causes premature aging. And because people are just thinking, they are sometimes even getting into smoking, they are doing, eating wrong things because they're stressed, they're worried. And the culture sometimes also encourages stress, as if like, people have to be worried. And I would see like even in my organization, there were people who would be so stressed, they would be talking, oh my God, how will we improve the situation? And I would always ask that, by becoming stressful and by becoming like really sad, or by jumping or shouting, the situation will not be solved. Otherwise, we should have a global conference on stress if it was to resolve the world problems. Rather, it has to be the opposite, which is like how comfortable and calm and happy you are, that in that way you will be able to resolve the things much better, right? So that is the thing. Overcome, avoid stress, find stress busters, right? And one of the greatest stress buster I found is love. And that is the best thing. Loving your parents, loving your family, loving your sibling, loving your friends, loving your community. All these things is a great stress buster. Okay, so where you have love, you cannot have fear, and you cannot have stress. So those type of things you have to go with. It looks like very much like what is this guy talking about, but life is very simple. Believe me, life is very simple. We try to make it complicated, and we should not. So second is avoid stress. The third is, which is avoid too much sugar. Okay, so I have read somewhere that If you want to get old in a hurry, then increase your sugar consumption. Okay, so I have nothing against sugar manufacturing or anything, but I'm just saying that it's not good. It should be taken in moderation. Sugar is an inflammatory ingredient which may put your blood sugar on a roller coaster, leaving you tired and confused with wrinkled skin. Cutting on processed sugar can be a great way to regain youthfulness. So try doing that. The only form of sugar I consume is honey. I was thinking that this is the most healthiest thing, and honey is healthy. But my doctor recently told me that it has the same level of calories and any other thing. So think of also using honey in moderation. But of course, like, you have to use certain things. And if right now a lot of people would be having sheer korma and so many other things on Eid, that's fine. But try to have it, do like everything else, try to keep it in moderation. So that's the third one. The fourth is avoid complacency and laziness. And I think the worst thing is the complacency and the laziness. Living in just the mind. Okay, so in the mind is like, I will be able to do this, maybe if this happens, and then they're hoping against hope that something happens to them. I like the people who say that, instead of hoping, I want to make things happen, and I'm going to make them happen. That's a very different attitude between the two things. So at least you keep trying. Things may not work in the first time, and it doesn't matter if they don't work, but there has to be this energy that goes in making things happen, instead of just thinking and praying that some help may come in, intervention happens and my life is changed. Your life will be changed when you start working on your own mind, when you start doing things. If you say, I want to make $1 million, and then you just keep sitting, the $1 million is not going to fall from the sky, right? Maybe someone is too lucky. Even to win a lottery, you'd have to go and buy the lottery ticket to be able to win that. So you have to say, what is your plan to get to the million or $1 billion, or to get the best health that you ever wanted, or to get the best spouse that you ever wanted, or whatever is it, to get the best friend. What is your strategy? How are you working on it? Are you creating yourself from inside out in a way that you will be able to achieve the things that you want? So complacency, sitting in front of television will not help at all. Laziness is horrible. So for many people, I've seen that they say that I want to do it, but I'm going to postpone it for the next day. And something which I have noticed also happens with the New Year resolutions. So the people say, on the 30th of December, before that, they start talking about it from New Year's. I'm going to lose this much weight, or I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to be this amazing individual. But when the first day comes in, January 1st or January 2nd, whatever, the people, the body tells them like they want to get up and go for exercise. They say, no, listen, I'm so comfortably placed in my quilt, I don't want to get out. And then they miss the next one, and then say, okay, next year's resolution, I'm going to change that. That is the problem of laziness and of complacency. Complacency is the architecture of our downfall. We have to avoid that. We have to be, as long as we are living, we have to be active and going on and doing things, whatever is in our power, right? Within what our body can enable us. At least the body is then working and becoming rejuvenated, or it's being used. When you're not using something, it becomes obsolete. It's not in the right way. So you have to keep it going and avoid complacency at every cost. The final thing to avoid in my list is avoid resentment. Okay, and I have a great quote from Nelson Mandela, amazing individual. He said, resentment is like taking poison and hoping it will kill your enemy. So I'll say it again. Resentment is like taking poison and hoping it will kill your enemy. So when we are resenting something, or when we are resentful, we are actually causing pain to our own self. Okay, and resentment is toxic and can cause stress and anxiety. And it is important to understand what is causing us resentment. Once we figure out who and what is causing us the pain, we should do something which is different. I would say that we should forgive others and ourselves, and that is the best way to neutralize this toxic emotion that can eat away spans of life, and we don't want that to happen. We have to understand why are we resentful. There are people who actually may have caused us grief. They must have pained us because maybe their own life is not good, and that's how they believe that they have to, by causing pain to another person, they feel good or whatever. But we cannot allow their toxicity, again, like the question, which was a brilliant question that was asked, we cannot allow the toxicity of other people to rub onto us. So we have to look at it like our body, our mind, this is what we have been given, and we have to take care of it before even helping the others. Like, what do they say in when the oxygen becomes low in a plane? They say first put a mask on yourself and then try to help the children. They didn't say that help the children first, because they know that unless you help your own self, you will not be able to help another person. So it's important to get rid of all your old resentments of life, and try to be like forgiving. Forgiving not because you are the greatest angel type of a person. Forgiveness because it's in your own selfish way. It's like it's for your own body, it's for your own constitution, it's for you. It helps you to do that. And that's why you see all the gurus, the religions have talked about forgiveness, because these are important things. This help you to live a great life. So what we talked so far is like we looked at youthfulness from a different lens, and we said that there are 5 things that we need to do in my view. One is practice inner engineering to reinvent ourselves. Second was to build strong relationships. Third was give gratitude and very frequently. Practice intermittent fasting, and feeding our mind with positive thoughts all the time. So that was the 5 things we said we should do. And the things to avoid, we said, were like avoid limiting paradigms and negative thoughts. We should completely avoid that, because the mind doesn't distinguish between a positive thought and a negative thought. So if you are going to feed it with negative thought, it will become negative. And your life, external life, is simply a mirror of what is inside you, right? So that's important. Avoid stress at all costs. So avoiding stress, then we talk within the stress is like we need to make sure that we're exercising, we are meditating, we are cultivating good habits and rituals in our life, which makes us happy, laughing a lot. It's really good. Instead of like fretting, it's like even during a crisis situation, bust out laughing. Yeah, why not? We can laugh at ourselves, and laughing is better than frowning. It's much better anyway. And if your situation cannot be improved, at least you laugh, at least it gives a better emotion and feeling to you. Then we talked about avoiding too much sugar, that's self-explanatory, avoiding complacency and laziness, and the last one was to avoid resentment, or the feeling of resentment in our life. And I think that's really, really important. Now, in conclusion, so these were the things that I talked. I gave you examples of some of the researches which have been done by very, very capable individuals. So, but my point over here sometimes is that there is so much data available on youthfulness on the net, but not all achieve it, okay? The issue is that our conditioning, limiting beliefs, and living in a habitually reactionary mode prevents us from developing a mindset of inner calm and happiness to create youthfulness from inside out. And reaction is also such a bad thing. Like when we get a message, we have to respond. If someone has said something to us, we want to get back to them. We want to, settle the score. It doesn't help anyone. If only we take a few seconds not to react to situations by allowing the message from going from our amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, I think a lot of situations would be achieved in a much better way, and it will help our own body physically and mentally. Okay. As for me, a couple of things that I do in my life is like, of course, I do fasting, I exercise regularly, eat reasonably good food diet. I don't think that I'm like really focusing on that only protein and all that. I eat everything, but in moderation. Avoid resentment. This is something which those who know me, I don't delve on what has happened in the past. Past is gone. I don't care about who caused what problem, because I don't allow people's toxicity or their problems to rub onto me. I really don't like that to happen to my life, and so what I do is I just disengage and not think about it. And other thing is I've been very, very lucky to have really good friends around the world. But the main thing, I believe, the real reason for some of the energy and positivity is my attitude of learning, reinventing myself, taking challenges. Like, look at it, like creating Courageous Mind was something which is complete reinvention. I was completely doing a career in corporations of senior positions in finance and doing something completely, although I'm doing still finance, but in a completely different way, and coming to a completely different city and starting myself as like completely from ground zero, right? But that gives the learning on a daily basis, right? Makes you feel young, makes you feel full of energy to be doing something. You're recreating your brand, right? And that takes a lot of energy and power to do it, and that keeps you focused and alive and how should I say, passionate, and it gives more energy of youthfulness to it, and also not focusing on limitations. And the other very important thing is I only hold myself responsible for my life. I don't say that it was caused because of someone else. Every decision that has been taken, even if it's been a little bit unfair on me on things, I always take responsibility, because I was the one who went to a particular person to ask a question, and they may not have guided me right, but then I am the one who took the decision. So I, and only I, am responsible for my life, and good, bad, with the highs and lows, everything. We are our own self responsible for it. So that is what I would say, and I would sum it up by saying that we have in our cockpit, if you were a pilot, you have emotions, feelings, words, and your actions as your toolkit, as you're navigating yourself through the vicissitudes of life. The life will have these different experiences. There will be ups, lows, highs, and it's a matter of experiences. And what you need to have to do is don't focus on success or failure, because that is immaterial. At the end, everything ends. As I always say, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the experiences that you have, the enrichment that you have in your life, and the happiness, contentment. That is what we are all after, and that is something that has to be nurtured. You have to be expressive. The expression that you're creating your life on the canvas of life, that has to be painted with the most vibrant colors, and those vibrant colors of energy will come in when you have mastery of your own self, the things that have not been taught to us in school and colleges. So that is what I would leave you with, this thought. Once again, a very happy Eid to all the people who are celebrating it, and hope you are wish you the best during this time and for the years ahead of you. So if you have any thoughts, any points, any questions, we still have at least 10 minutes. If there's a point or a thought, I would be more than happy to engage on it. Any comment, any thought? Come on, guys. I think you can share a thought. No? I'll wait for another minute. And no. Okay, so if there are no other thoughts or questions, then I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you have liked this session. Appreciate your feedback on it, and once again, wishing you a very, very happy Eid and a great evening. Bye. I now sign off from Dubai. Bye-bye.